Good morning. Welcome back. And thank you for joining us today for the 5th session of Skin in the Game, sponsored by the ARC. My name is Angel Rodriguez. I'm the CEO of Terra Network Solutions, and I'll be your host today. Terra Network Solutions is a small, veteran-owned business in IT consulting and low-voltage contracting company. I myself have served over 24 years, and I'm currently retired now. Last time I was in my transition phase, I'm officially in the retired state, so I'm kind of happy about that. And that's why you see a little bit of a difference here, so I'm joining the rest of my crew. I see a lot of familiar faces here today, so welcome back. I appreciate you guys coming back and joining us today. We have a great show for you guys today. We have 3 presenters with valuable information that will help you have skin in the game. And you're asking yourself, for some of you guys that just got here, what is skin in the game? Well, skin in the game is knowing how to leverage all the resources to reduce your costs and to increase your reach. This is the 5th session of 6, and each time you attend in person and secure a poker chip from the ARC, is the ARC's intent to sponsor up to 80 exhibitors on their dime. ARC will cover your $500 cost to exhibit once you collect all 3 of their poker chips. At the end of this presentation, I'll have a little bit of a little wild card for you guys. So make sure that you stay to the end and listen to it. It's some good information for you. And what this is everyone in attendance that secures 3 poker chips will be able to attend the 12th annual Veteran and Small Business Trade Show on September 25th, 2023 at the Moreno Valley Civic Center. So we encourage you to spread the word about having skin in the game and the ARC. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce to you retired, formerly nationally accredited County Veteran Service Officer and Sergeant First Class, Jane Babcock. During her 11.5 years as a CVSO, she filed over 1,000 claims for VA benefits for veterans and their survivors, all absolutely free for the claimants. Today, she will be presenting veteran benefits briefing. So with that, thank you, Jane, and on to you.
Thank you, Angel. Glad to be here today. I know this program is designed to focus on the transitioning veteran, but my briefing is more about VA in general. You have counselors and you have veteran service officers there at your transition points to help you. And my biggest advice to you is find your accredited veteran service officer to assist you in transition. They understand what you need to do to develop your claim, whether or not you should be looking at a med board for possible DOD benefits. And of course, they know exactly what your VA benefits will eventually progress into. So I would like to start today by talking about sorry, I'm trying to get, there we go. Today, we're going to talk about all 19 million veterans. You are about to become a member of the world's largest and most diverse family. There are 19 million of us, about 2/3 of what there was at the end of Vietnam. 9 million of those veterans are still living that are age 65 and older. And we estimate that there are between 6 and 8 million widows out there that are entitled to VA benefits. So who is a veteran? They are someone that served in the active military, whether it's Navy, Air, Coast Guard, even the atmospheric guys are considered part of the military. So if you were discharged under other than honorable conditions, there are very few benefits you are eligible for, except if you have injuries or illnesses related to your service. If you were discharged under other than honorable, you are eligible to be treated for your VA conditions, but not up to receive compensation. So for those who received a general discharge or an honorable discharge, there's no question as to your eligibility for benefits. The most common benefit financially that people think of is compensation. This is service-connected disability payments that come to you each month. They come for injury or illness caused by service that is a detractor to your employability and to your quality of life. The most important thing that you can do as you get ready to transition is to make sure that any injuries or illnesses that you're aware of that happened in service, you jumped off the back of the Deuce and a Half on a convoy, twisted your ankle, had to use ice on it, and maybe, the traditional Motrin kind of thing, but never went on sick call for it. You need to get that into your medical record, and or you need to get buddy statements from the people who witnessed the fact that the next day when you took your socks and boots off, your ankle was purple. So you need those witness statements to damage done to your body while you were in service. This is your direct service connection or medical evidence. Buddy statements will work in lieu of medical records. The VA will also consider aggravation. When I was in junior high, I ran track. I went over a hurdle. My knee went out on me. And when I entered service at 23, it was noted on my medical records that I had been looked at for a knee injury, but they went ahead and did extra x-rays and said, nope, knee is strong enough. You're good to go. You can enter service. When you enter the military, it is presumed that you are 100% healthy. So I am rated for that knee now, having had surgery while I was still in, and they rated me simply 10% less for pre-existing initial injury. So instead of 30%, I'm 20%. Normally, I would be 30% following the surgery after the recovery stage. There is a statutory presumption of certain illnesses. One of the things I learned in my 11 and a half years in the military is none of us know that ALS is a presumptive military condition. If you know of a veteran suffering with Lou Gehrig's disease, or if you are aware of a widow whose veteran passed away with ALS, that is more than likely either a direct cause or a contributing factor to their death. That person is entitled to compensation benefits. So please send them to a veteran service officer representative who is accredited. There is also secondary conditions. I am taking different medications for my different service-connected conditions, and because of that, I have GERD, or acid reflux, and it affects the bottom of my esophagus, so I take medication for that. But because it's coming from the complications caused by the medications I'm taking for service conditions, it's considered secondary. Just as if I start having lots of problems with my hips because I'm not walking normally on that knee, my hips can be considered as a secondary condition. The VA also has Section 1151 or FTCA claims, which means that if you go to the VA and if they cut off the wrong foot, they have done damage to you. So then you can actually file against the VA for compensation. So never think that you have to surrender all your rights for medical care in the VA. Personally, I love my VA. They have literally saved my life more than once. What the civilian doctor said was asthma, it wasn't. It was actually ischemic heart disease. So trust your VA doctor, but you have to be real honest with them, of course. Statutory presumption are conditions that the VA has recognized based on when and where you served. Everybody sees these Camp Lejeune commercials. That has a laundry list of neurological and chemical conditions. And they also have at Camp Lejeune a list for the family members. So know those presumptive conditions. They may not happen to you right now in life, They may not happen to you for 30 years. But if you develop those conditions, you have the right to go back and receive compensation for them. If those conditions, whether they're injuries or illnesses, contribute to your passing, your knee gives out and you fall down the stairs and break your neck. If you hadn't had a service-connected knee, you wouldn't have fallen down the stairs, and therefore it's a contributing factor. So that brings your family into benefits. Survivor benefits can be paid to dependent children and or spouses. So any condition you are rated for or are rateable for. So a veteran passes away of ALS and 8 years later it gets put on the list. That widow is entitled to dependent indemnity compensation if she's still unmarried or if she remarried after the age of 57. So presumptive conditions are things that hasten or contribute to your death. The death of the veteran is either directly related, again, bad knee, fall down the stairs, Parkinson's due to Agent Orange or due to the burn pits, whatever. That becomes something that your spouse then and or children under the age of 23 attending school or children who were disabled and permanently before the age of 18. So this is why it's important. You're getting your VA rating done and done right will make things easier for that CVSO or TVSO or VSO rep to make sure your spouse is entitled and receives the benefits. The biggest benefit that veterans don't know about is the wartime pension. In my 11 and a half years, one veteran had heard of it, but he didn't know how it worked. And I met thousands at the county fairs, at football games, hockey games, all sorts of stuff. So I'm one of those gregarious people. I see a veteran hat and I'm right up there asking them, do you know your benefits? And I keep benefit books in my car to hand out. Although I would do that now, but the VA didn't publish any for the last almost 2 years. So they're out. So the wartime veterans pension, just as it implies, it's a non-service connected pension. If I were a veteran receiving, say, 20% in disability, but I'm in a serious car accident after service, and I'm never going to be able to work again, and I'm young enough, say I'm 21 years old, and all I qualify for is SSI, Social Security Supplemental Income. Not disability, because I don't have enough Social Security quarters to qualify for the better benefit. So right now, I believe that's around $900, maybe a little less, in which case you're not going to live off that. So that veteran is then eligible to look at getting pension money from the VA on top of that Social Security money. So any veteran who served during the wartime, 90 days of active duty, not including training, then they stayed on duty after the training. And even if the war ended the next day, they've got 1 day of active duty on wartime period, which will come on the next slide. The length of service and the character of discharge. So they receive a general or an honorable discharge. They are totally and permanently disabled at any age, or age 65 and above, because that is considered no longer inside the working world. So they're on the fixed income Social Security. The VA will take your total household income, subtract off your total household medical expenses. So you can see where two people receiving Social Security and spending $1,000 a month on their medications are now living on one Social Security check. They're more than likely going to be eligible for pension supplemental income through the VA. So by the time you subtract off the Medicare expense, the medications, the doctor copays, everything else, if they're living below poverty, the VA will supplement their income. The veteran can receive up to 130% of poverty level, and the widow, they'll supplement up to the poverty level. We don't want our heroes living below poverty. So the surviving spouse, the only conditions there is they must have been married to the veteran on the day of their death. And there are no age or health, only income requirements. In other words, the veteran's widow could be 57 years old. She's still inside that quote working world time period, but maybe she's either having health issues where she can't work full time, or she has children in the house, and so now the number of dependents are making her income below poverty. Children also are eligible for this pension program if they are disabled prior to their 18th birthday, or they are under 23 and attending a school that the VA recognizes, and also that they are single. If they're married, that other income probably will put them above it. So that once those eligibility requirements are met, the veteran service officer that you're working with is going to look at the DD 214 and say, okay, does this veteran who may be deceased or is still living, did they fall within these periods of service? The VA, or excuse me, Vietnam veterans are a little unique in that technically the war didn't start till August 5th of 64, but we had, quote, advisors in country, and those people would have been exposed to things like Agent Orange and things like that that we were then giving to the government there. So that in-country necessity is there. They actually have to have boots on ground during that period, except for those veterans in the what they call Blue Water Navy. If their ship was within 12 magical miles, nautical miles of the landmass, then they may be eligible also. They have expanded through the PAC Act what in-country and what exposure zones there are. There are now, it is accepted that it's not just the airfields in Thailand, but the entire Air Force bases in Thailand. So if your veteran was stationed in Thailand, they too now fall under Agent Orange. If they were on the Entawak Atoll, which is where they stored and buried and then cleaned up a lot of the Agent Orange materials, they too are eligible. Our Gulf War, for the purpose of pension, is still considered open. So from August 2nd, 1990, till today and continuing until there's a presidential order or congressional order closing that date, those people are also eligible for wartime veterans pension. So the VA is going to take the household income, subtract the medical expenses, and say, this is what you're living on. It is below these levels, whether you're single, married, a widow, have other dependents, such as handicapped child prior to 18, and things like that. And they're going to say, nope, you should be having this much income. We're going to supplement you back up to that. Now, of course, everybody knows VA is a medical system, and you would be surprised how many of our very oldest veterans think that that is all the VA is. Oh, that's that clinic that's an hour and a half down the road from me. Well, as you've just learned, the VA is much more than that. Of course, eligibility comes into play when you start thinking about the ability for VA to serve. A lot of veterans that I met would say, well, I don't really need it. The next guy needs it more than I do. And that may be true that they need it more, but they categorize veterans as far as priority treatment and care. So in the VA system in 2003, the VA decided that they needed to put in financial limitations as far as the number of veterans they could bring into the system. First and foremost, anybody that has a VA injury or illness, the government knows that they're responsible for that damage to the person. So they, of course, have an open door to use the VA. The next group of veterans will be means tested. If they do not have any service-related injury or illness are not at least in the process of being rated, the means test comes into play when they say, how much is your household income? How many people in the household? Subtract off those medical expenses again, because after all, if you have a sick child or sick spouse, bringing your income way down, you should be entitled to be in the VA without copays or reduced copays, the number of different types of copays. So that's real important when people get laid off. When COVID hit and people were going a year without income, or they retired, your income dramatically changes at the age of 66 and 3 months or whatever. So you need to look back and say, do I now meet those new thresholds that would allow me to stop paying the specialty copay of $50? Maybe I only need to pay the pharmacy and not the doctor copay. So again, this is where these means tests become important, to know what they are and how to apply when things change. And of course, anybody with a presumptive condition, any of the 38 Agent Orange cancers or numerous neurological disorders, any of our burn pit guys with brain cancer or anything like that, you and I both agree, they need to go to the front of the line. They are category 1. They will be given treatment ASAP. Sometimes you have to use patient advocate to push a little on these guys, but that's what that patient advocate is there for. Let them know what's going on in your medical care that you need prioritized. So don't be afraid of them. They will help you. That's what they're there for. Once you are inside the VA healthcare system, there are benefits like in-home care. If you are rated greater than 50%, then you will receive travel pay. If you're going to a CMP exam, comp and pension exam, to qualify for either of those programs, you'll receive travel pay for that. So know these benefits. For me, to get to a VA hospital is $80-some, I think it's $87 for me to do a round trip to my doctor that I get. So I have to go to the hospital rather than my little community clinic for certain tests and treatments. And if you later in life start needing nursing home care, or if you need an adapted auto, say you need a ramp system put on the family van or something like that, or you actually need to purchase a different vehicle because you can't get in and out of that Corvette anymore, and now you need something that's higher in stature to get in and out of, if it's related to your service, there's a grant to help you purchase that auto. A brand new auto is going to cost you more than what the grant is, but it's a large chunk of money to help you reduce that cost significantly. There are also home grants. There's a standard home grant that's service connected, which will put in ramps, widen bathroom doorways, do all sorts of things like that for you to help you get in and out of your house, get around your house, say if you're now scooter bound or wheelchair bound. But there's also a much smaller grant that veterans can apply for, even if it's not service connected, to do some modifications, such as put in that ramp to and from, get you in and out of the house. You may not be able to completely remodel your bathroom so that you have a roll-in shower, but it will help you with some of the lesser costs, but they will put in, grab bars in the shower and things like that so you can stay in your home. Dental is a big question for a lot of people. It is automatically eligible if you are 100% service connected, or if you are what's called IU. IU is individual unemployability. A veteran is rated 60% for something like ischemic heart disease. There's not a lot of employers that are going to offer them a job full-time and at what they call gainful employment. So the VA will look at that veteran and say, you know what, with 60% heart issues, we need to consider him unemployable. In other words, unable to achieve more than so many hours of work and or so many dollars worth of work. If you are not able to maintain that gainful employment because you're missing a lot of time for medical appointments, if you're physically unable to work 40 hours a week at your job, the truck driver from Vietnam that has type 2 diabetes, he's got to give up his job as a truck driver. He's now got neuropathy in his legs. He can't stand for any lengths of time. Maybe he had a back injury in service, and that back injury is reducing his ability to sit for a long time. So it eliminates so many different jobs out there for them and the ability to maintain gainful employment that if they're rated 60% for one thing or 70% overall with one of those conditions being at 40%, then the VA can consider them for unemployability, do an exam, talk to them about their education and skills and things like that, and say, you're right, 40 hours a week is beyond you. Let's go ahead and pay you at the 100% rate. And they then receive that dental care. Now, there are exceptions to that rule, like so many things in VA. So if a veteran is taking a medication such as a brain injury, there's a particular anti-seizure medicine. And one of the side effects of that medication is that the person's gums will draw back and their teeth become loose. Not everybody has that side effect, but some do. So in my case, my particular veteran female that I was helping, that started happening to her. And although she was only rated at 60% and really was totally capable of doing the job that she did because her injuries were a lesser amount, the VA then said, no, we need to give this person dental because the medication to keep her seizures under control is what's causing it. So don't think that you can't get dental. There are exceptions to that. With our older veterans, the VA will look and say, are their teeth so bad that it is interfering with their ability to take in proper nutrition? Things like that. So, and of course, if you're on pension, you're paying, if you are paying for that dental care outside the VA, that also is a condition or an expense that you can put on your medical expenses. So you can, if you can swing it this year, then next year you are going to recoup some of that expense above and beyond what puts you under the allowance for pension. So don't shy away from taking good care of yourself. Inside the VA, as I mentioned, there are copays. But if you are service connected for a condition and you are taking medication for that condition, PTSD, sometimes we need that chemical help to stay in the middle of the road. Sometimes it's permanent, sometimes it's temporary. 6 months to stabilize and then see how you're doing. And other times it's something that is going to help keep you steady for the rest of your life. Then that medication is free. So if it's service connected, you don't pay anything. If you're rated at 50% or above, you don't pay any pharmacy copays, even if it's some other medication that you're using. You've developed eczema, which has nothing to do with the service, then they'll go ahead and give you the medications and creams for free. If you are a former POW, and I actually had to help a veteran establish his POW status because the records that they had had been damaged in the fire. They had some, but not enough. And we developed the evidence, proper evidence to show through the unit reports that he had been, in fact, held as a captive for 2.5 days. And once that was established, he received a whole bunch of benefits in the VA for free. If you're going to a comp and pen exam, you don't have to pay the doctor copay, even if your income is really high. If you're participating in a VA research program, such as our Vietnam guys, prostate cancer for them keeps reoccurring even after having the prostate out. So many of them have volunteered to be in that research program. And everything they do, whether it's go see the doctor, take a blood test, do, try certain medications and things like this, none of that costs them anything. And if you are registering for the burn pit exam, or if you are registering for the Agent Orange or Camp Lejeune or any of those others, those exams don't cost you anything. As I mentioned earlier, that financial status is important in that maybe you got laid off for 6 months of the year. Now you have the option of refiling your finances, and you may in fact qualify for no pharmacy for the next year. Then you go back to work, and the next year they ask you to be honest and to report to them the sudden change in income. And then you would go back to paying copays. But since the copays for pharmacy are either zero, nothing for very few certain things, $5, $8, or $11, if you're working, odds are you can afford that kind of money for that $130 asthma medicine or inhaler. So there is a cap. Veterans don't have to pay over $700 annually. So if you're doing a lot of medical care, you're seeing a lot of specialists, you're doing a lot of medications, you're still going to have a cap at $700. But one of the greatest things I love is the hearing aids and glasses. Many veterans, especially older veterans, infantry guys, artillery guys, even guys that worked in the engine room on ships or submarines or anything like that, their constant noise exposure has made it difficult for them to hear. Hearing aids are going to cost you about $100. You don't pay for the hearing aids, but you do pay to go get your hearing test, and you do pay to go and get the hearing, it all set up and fitted and all that good stuff. But again, if your income level, household income level, minus your medical expenses for your other family members, puts you down into a certain category, you're going to get it free. Or if you're rated 50% or better, you're going to get it for free. Some of the guys tell me not to tell their wife that because they don't want her to know that they can get them. They like their selective listening. So you don't pay for equipment in the VA, but you do pay for the medical care that leads you to get that equipment. Other benefits. There's a lot more to the VA. Vet centers. They are indirectly connected to the VA. They are part of the VA, but they are combat veterans that are counselors outside of the VA campuses that can spend time with you. They cannot prescribe medications. Many of my guys with anger issues and other things like that, I said, look, you need to go and find out. Are you suffering with PTSD? If you had a skin rash, you would go get it treated. Well, you have a rash of the mind. It's time to go and get that under control. So the vet center guys can't prescribe medications, but they can do all the counseling. They can do all the note taking. And then to get your official diagnosis, you go into the VA healthcare system at behavioral health, and the shrink there then reads the notes, talks to you, and then says, yes, in fact, this is PTSD. And if they think you might benefit from medication to stabilize, then they'll have that conversation with you. Of course, everybody knows we have education benefits. But what a lot of veterans don't know is maybe the state they live in has benefits too. Here in Wisconsin, we have 4 additional years. So maybe a guy gets his bachelor's through the 9/11 GI Bill, but then they have another 36 months, being 4 years at 9 months a year to go to school. They can get it all done in 3 years, great. They'll pay for that, if they're going 12 months a year. And so check your state. You might have additional benefits. Here in Wisconsin, once a veteran hits 30% or greater, their family, their dependents are entitled to use that same benefit at any state university or state tech school. Could you imagine putting your children through school? You might have 4 kids and your spouse. Plus yourself go for a master's degree. What a great benefit. Check your state. Home loans. Home loans, of course, the traditional, you don't have to put money down kind of thing. That's a little confusing because most of the time you're going to have to at least pay closing costs to your lending agency, whether it's a bank or a credit union or a mortgage company. They need to have that money to process their initial paperwork. Sometimes they'll roll it into your house, but other times they won't. But it's a great guarantee because if you do have a situation where you get behind, you can go back to the VA lending system and refinance the house. So home loans through the VA are really great things because lenders are going, well, I know I'm guaranteed to get so much money for this mortgage if in fact that person defaults. So use it. It's a great benefit. Vocational rehabilitation and employment. A veteran is blind from his service. They're going to teach him how to survive on a day-to-day basis. Someone needs to go to schooling because they used to be a truck driver, now they can't. Okay. Voc rehab can be putting you back into school. Voc rehab can teach you how to run a small business, help you develop your business plan to approach the bank to get the loan that you need for your business. Voc rehab, which is now called Veterans Employment and Rehab, I think it is, program. So it's just a different name, but it means the same thing, and most people don't know the new name anyways. Life insurance. It's hard to get life insurance when you're a totally disabled person, but the VA has life insurance for our veterans, and they will count your service-connected disabilities. You can get some on the outside for a better price, but your disabilities are brought into consideration out in the civilian world. So you may not be able to find a better price on the outside. There are several different types. It's one of those things you really need to sit down with an insurance person and say, what works for me? Survivor support services. If you suddenly pass, there are counseling services and things like that for your family to help them through this stress. If you're in service, there's actually an entire team for each branch of service that goes and helps the family if they do decide they want to have a public, like a caisson or other event like that. Then they were there to help totally get things set up. Is the veteran going to go into a national cemetery, a state cemetery, or a community cemetery? And what kind of headstone and all the other things? Those things will be provided for you. Military funeral honors. Now, a lot of people think, well, that's the military funeral when a veteran or when a service member dies in service and they do the caisson and all that stuff. But we as veterans are entitled to the flag. We can ask for a military headstone. We can ask for a flat granite headstone. We can get a bronze marker that shows our service that's attached to the headstone that may already exist in the family cemetery. We can be buried in a state cemetery, veteran cemetery. We can be buried in the national cemetery. A lot of our spouses can even be placed with us. So find out what those things are. And of course, non-VA claims assistant. What I mean by that is non-VA as in doesn't work for the VA. So I used to tell people, yeah, my job is to fight the VA. Well, if I worked for them, I wouldn't be able to fight them. So that accredited veteran service officer is free. They have to go through training. They have to get a background check. They have to go through training every year. They have to take a test in the first year. They have to learn state benefits, federal benefits, the 38 Code of Federal Regulation, the M21-1 MR manual of regulations for the VA. And best of all, they have a network of thousands of fellow veterans that they can call on, and we put stuff on our forum, or excuse me, they put stuff on their forum because I no longer have access. But how to change a 10-year-old death certificate in order to get that widow her benefits. things like that. So use that free accredited veteran service officer. They are paid by your state, your county, your veteran organization, your tribe, whoever they are employed by, so they do not charge you for any of their services. Now, if you have a 300-page claim file and you want a copy of it, they might charge you for the paper. But otherwise, they're free, they're there, and they know what they're doing, and they'll be there for your family. Why should a veteran use healthcare at the VA? Well, you don't have to. You can go to your civilian doctor all you want, but I always tell veterans, please do the annual physical. Your VA doctor is going to look for those odd diseases and things that come from your service, and civilian doctors don't know. They will also help the VA see patterns that are having this particular respiratory problem. If you're part of the registry and you were at Taji, they're going to send you an alert saying, hey, if you're having these kind of problems, come see us. So you're helping your fellow veterans get those presumptives established. Why is it hard to get VA benefits? It's a government-run healthcare and financial benefits program. Everything in the government takes 3 times more paperwork than it should. But unfortunately, that's because the bad apples that lied. You know, I've literally had a guy walk into the office with a obviously doctored DD-214 trying to get into VA. Dude, you're a dishonorable discharge with less than a year worth of military service, and you tried to white it out. So the bad apples lead us to having problems. But there are free veteran service officers, like I used to be, trained to assist to help you get the benefits you are entitled to. Even if you have an other than honorable discharge, but you have injuries or illnesses from service, we can get that adjudicated to get you the health care. Can't get you the compensation, but can get you the health care. And if you need that upgrade done, we should be able to at least advise you on what evidence to submit. If there were one thing in the VA I could change, it would be the fact that they don't advertise. VA's own data shows that less than 50% of us, less than half of our 19 million veterans are eligible for VA benefits, but less than half of those guys are receiving the benefits they should. To make it worse, less than 600,000 of our widows are receiving the benefits and dependents, so because there are children receiving benefits, are receiving benefits. But the VA knows that it should probably be more like 2 to 3 million who are entitled and eligible, meet the requirements to receive benefits. Getting them to advertise would reach millions between presumptive service, low-income elderly, homeless, just getting a suicidal guy into the medical care that they need. We owe these heroes more, and those who care for them, we owe them better. Thank you for your time, and if I can help, please look for me on LinkedIn. Happy to share the information, e-tools, links, and attachments that I use to teach VA every day. And you'll have my phone number. If you need direct advice, you can call. Nothing I do costs them. I'm just happy to take it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. I appreciate all the information. That was a lot of useful information. I just have a couple of questions for you to kind one of the questions I had, I was looking at your at the PowerPoint, which was a lot of valuable information, is you spoke about the presumption for injuries. The question I have for you is, for the presumption, can your spouse serve as a witness to the injury, or is it only people that served with you?
Oh, no. Spousal statements are great, especially when it comes to things like sleep apnea and hearing loss and things like that, because after all, they're the ones that are constantly having to leave the kitchen or whatever to come into the living room to tell you to turn the TV down so that they can ask you a question.
Yeah, no, that,
Attest to the loss of hearing, but they can attest to the impact on the quality of your life, which puts you in higher rating categories.
oh, okay, and the VSOs can help you out with that if you need assistance with using your spouse as a witness, correct?
Yes, definitely.
Okay,
One of my veterans actually broke his leg on leave, and his priest was the one that wrote the buddy statements because his records were lost in the fire at the archives back in, I want to say 67, 72, something there.
oh,
And
okay,
so the priest wrote the letter stating, seeing him in church on crutches with a cast.
yeah, okay, that's wow, I didn't know that. I'm more than sure a lot of us veterans didn't know that. So thank you for that. And then my next question is you spoke about the wartime pension. And I have a question on that is can you receive the pension that you spoke of on top of your VA retirement if the VA when you retire rates you at permanent and total? So you can receive your permanent and total VA pension and the wartime pension, or is it just one or the other?
So now, when you say VA pension, are you talking, retirement, or are you talking compensation for disability?
You're when you retire after 20 years and you're getting compensated for disability.
Retirement money is not, it's DOD, it's
Right.
Department of Defense. So it does not affect your income. So if you're a veteran that's retired military and you're receiving your DOD pay and your spouse has to go into a nursing home at $8,000 a month, you do not receive disability pay, or you receive very low disability pay, you would now be eligible for the $2,000+ from VA pension. They would stop that $800 in disability pay and give you the better benefit.
Oh, okay, so if you have a disability pension already, like I have somebody here that's receiving 100% already pension, you wouldn't get both of them. You would only get one or the other. Is that correct?
Correct. You can't take from one department two checks, but they'll look at which is the better benefit. If you're 100%, you're receiving over $3,600 a month.
Right.
So that's the better benefit. You just certainly wouldn't want to give that up for the $2,000 plus pension.
So what you're telling me is I can't double dip.
Correct. You can take from DOD and you can take from VA, but you can only take from one place in VA.
Oh, okay. Dang it.
Well, I'm 100% service connected. They put my neck back together with metal, and I tore up my shoulder and knee and stuff like this. And I am a 21 and a half year Army Reserve retiree with 4 DD-214s. I kept going home, they kept calling me back. But if I or my spouse has to go, well, if I go into a nursing home, odds are it's going to be the VA that's paying for it. And my spouse will still receive my compensation. But if my spouse goes into a nursing home at $10,000 a month, that's going to take our income. So the VA would look at me and say, okay, which is better, pension or comp? In your case, comp. In the case of a guy receiving $800 in compensation, the $2,200 in pension would be the better deal.
Got it. Okay. That makes sense. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Whatever is the best benefit for you will be the one that you're eligible for. And there are people that go back and forth. And then their disability gets worse. They go back, they get rated, and they go, oh, now you're 100%. So we'll switch you back off pension onto the compensation because you've come down with one of those cancers, a neurological thing like ALS or something of that nature.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you for that valuable information, Jane. I really appreciate your time today. It's the information you've given us is invaluable. Thank you.
Important thing I can say is connect with me on LinkedIn. I'll give you the link to find your local accredited veteran service officer. If you're not on LinkedIn, but you want to know your veteran service officer, which is the most important relationship you can have in your community, go to your county government. And if you're not one of the 32 states that mandate it, go to your state government, because every state has a military veterans affairs department. And then they'll help you find it through the veteran organization. But make sure they are accredited, they are free. They will help you file, refile, appeal. They'll be here for your surviving family, and they'll never charge you a dime.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you, Jane. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you, Angel.
Okay. Have a great day. Okay. Bye-bye. Well, next I'd like to introduce to you Ramon Carlos, the office chief for the Office of Procurement and Contracts and advocate for CalVet. He's been advocating for SB and DVBEs for the past 13 years, 6 years with CalVet, and prior to that, he was 7 years with Caltrans. Ramon will be presenting a lot of valuable information about CalVet and procurement opportunities. So with that, on to you, Ramon.
All right. Morning. Thank you, Angel. Again, my name is Ramon Carlos, Office Chief for the Office of Procurement Contracts for the Department of Veteran Affairs. Not tech savvy, but let me see. The PowerPoint just arrows, right? Yes. All right. With a little bit of assistance, we got this done. All right. Again, hopefully I have some valuable information for you regarding CalVet and opportunities for you as a DVB or SE. There we go. A little bit about CalVet. We consist of 8 homes throughout the state of California, 8 veteran homes in Chula Vista, Redding, Ventura, Yountville being our largest and oldest home, Lancaster, Fresno, West LA, our second biggest home, and Barstow. These 8 homes pretty much need to purchase anything you can imagine. You can picture a hospital, anything they need from medical services, medical supplies to admin goods, all of that is needed, and we normally buy on a daily basis. We have 3 cemeteries throughout the state of California, Monterey, Yountville, and Igo. Yes. And of course, anything related to burial services are also in need of with CalVet. We have 3 district offices, LA, San Diego, and the Bay Area. Normally admin stuff, it's office centric, so also make a lot of purchases there. Our headquarters building that is not listed here, or well, yeah, it is plus headquarters. We also buy anything you can think of for an office centric type of environment, including building any new fixtures to our building, from HVAC to modular to elevators, all of that we also procure. So there are plenty of opportunities with CalVet throughout the state. A little bit about how we are broken down with our spending. A little bit above 75% is spent on non-IT goods and services. Anything from, like I said earlier, from medical supplies and services to facility upgrade type of procurement services, contracts, Of course, our oldest home, Yountville, is probably the one that has the majority of our contracts. It being over 100 years old, you can imagine there's a lot of repairs needed, and we keep it in top notch. So there are plenty of contracts that are executed through that home. Of course, the other 7, same thing. Plenty of opportunities there. The other 25% goes to, of course, our non-IT. Everything we do is through a computer, a server. So anything from services to equipment to security, access type of contracts, nurse call systems, anything like that. If you are in the service of that, reach out to us. We would love to do business with you, especially if you are a certified firm. Now, these 3 portions that I just talked about have to follow the state procurement and contracting process. Yes, there's a lot of red tape. There's a lot of forms that you have to provide to be deemed responsive and responsible. The MWR funds that are here, entertainment activity special funds, that is donation money that we get. They don't necessarily have to follow the state process to procure that. But if you are in the business of that, we can do business with you as well. So, okay. Right. All right. Why do business with us? We don't just talk what we talk, we actually walk it as well. We have awarded here just in the last fiscal year, a little over $19 million to certified DVBEs. That's 22% of our budget, and that is using 103 unique DVBEs in the state of California. You might think 103, not that many. There's what, 1,800 certified in the state of California. Well, I can tell you 6 years ago, we were only using like 25. So we're showing that, you know what, we're sharing the wealth. We're using as many certified firms that are out there, even the new ones. We're trying to do business with them. If your profile is updated, and I'm sure our next presenter will probably touch on that. If your profile is updated, we will find you, we will locate you, we will solicit you. All right. On the SB, of course, a little shy of $40 million, almost 45%. CalVet hovers in the 40% range with SBs. And of course, almost 360 unique firms. There also, with those 2 numbers, 103, 359, my expectation of our buyers is to increase that number. If it's not at the max, there's what, 20-some thousand certified SBs, 1,800 DVBEs. The closer we are to that number, we're being successful. So that is my expectation with CalVet. On our website, you will find what our current number is. That's a snapshot of our website. Of course, $84 million in spending, 22.78% went to a DVBE. And of course, like I mentioned, using 103 certified unique DVBEs. So, all right. Few policies that we have in place. DVB first policy. I think I can guarantee this. We are the only department in the state of California that goes with DVBs first. What that means is when we are looking to procure a contract, when we're looking to create a PO to purchase something, we solicit the DVBE community first. That they're first on the list. We go on eProcure, look for those certified DVBs. That's why I mentioned earlier, your profile updated. If it's updated, we will find you. If it's lacking something when we do our search, we might not find you. But that is one of the policies that we pretty much strive to do every single time we are about to do a transaction, whether it's for a contract or a good. We are also one of the departments that participates in the SBDVB option. Anything between $5,000 and $250,000, we can solicit to the certified firms. The thing with these solicitations is we don't advertise it on eProcure. We actually solicit the firms directly. I know I keep mentioning eProcure, locating you profiles. That is pretty much our avenue. We go on eProcure, we look up what we are looking to buy, the kind of service that we are in need of. We find 10 firms, 100 firms, that's what we're soliciting. Now, some people have a saying of the rule of 2. We need to get at least 2 quotes back. If we solicit 100 DVBs and we do not get 2 quotes back, We're unsuccessful. Now we go on to the next one. We go to SB. Until we get 2 quotes, then we kind of can execute that transaction. If we're unsuccessful with this option, the SBDVBE, then we kind of open it up to the world. That's my saying. We open it up to the world. IFB, invitation for bids. Now, the certified firms don't really like to see that because now they're competing with what I call the big boys, big girls also. But it's just the lack of not getting 2 quotes back to complete that transaction. So again, if your profile is updated, we will find you, we will solicit you, and hopefully do business with you. As I mentioned with our numbers, myself, are encouraging our buyers always to look up the new firms that were just certified. I think right now we're in the number of like 30,000 or something like that. Find a firm that has a high number. That tells me they were just certified probably yesterday. Solicit them. Let's see what they can do for us. Any firm that we haven't used that might be in the system that we haven't used over the last 4, 5, 6 years, solicit to them. Try and get them a ticket to the dance. Whether they dance after, that's on them. But invite them to the party, solicit them, include them, and let's see what we can do for them. All right. Marketing opportunities, we also offer that opportunity. I know a lot of firms try and reach out to the advocates, the buyers. We've kind of taken a step backwards on that. We don't allow that, but we do have monthly meetings with all of our buyers throughout CalVet. We invite you, we'll put you on the calendar to invite you to put you face to face with all of our buyers. Give us the typical saying is like your 10-second elevator speech, right? Well, we'll give you 15, 20 minutes. We'll give you a little more time to kind of present on what you can provide. Service, a good, where you're located, if you can provide it statewide, if it's just local to a local home, whatever it might be. But we give you those opportunities. Just reach out to us. We'll put you on the calendar and hopefully get you to do business with us if you haven't. All right. All right, our website, good resource. Our website is new, probably what, 3, 4 years old. We did not have a presence on our website in the past. The external website. Now we do have a presence. You can find out information about the SBDVB program with CalVet, the non-IT procurement. You can find a very long list of goods, items that we have purchased over the past and constantly are in need of. So if that's an item that you can sell to us, hey, let us know, reach out to us, give us your capability statement, and we would love to get you on our list of firms that we do business with. Non-IT contracts, pretty much let you know what kind of services we are always in need of. We always renew our contracts probably 2, 3 years, whether it's services or plan op type of contracts, but that is there, and I'll get into another item of our contracts in the next slide. Another thing that we have that we created here probably 2 years ago, actually during the pandemic, I think it was, is a registry. What we call that, it's like a short list. If you are able to provide a service in an emergency need, put your name on that list. When we are in need of that service, that's the first list we're going to go to. Of course, in that registry, we're asking, are you certified? Are you DVB? Are you SP? All of that still comes into play, but it's all of a sudden a short list of firms that we can reach out to. Other resources that we might provide to you guys, you can find them on our CalVet site. Of course, general emails, so you can contact us. If you have a question, have a concern, you'll find those emails. And not that we want to go here, but if you do business with CalVet and you have a complaint, we want to document it. So we have that form to document, to track it, to make sure we follow through and make sure we address any issue you have, because we want to resolve it and continue having you as a returning firm that we do business with. Then you deal with a complaint, no one addresses it, and you go away. So we track all these, we take them seriously. But again, that is a form that you can also find on there. All right. Wanted to circle back, like I mentioned, on non-IT contracts. We actually produce a look-ahead report. So if you are in business to provide a service, we try and give these firms as much of a heads up as possible that, hey, these contracts are coming. This snapshot here is a list of services that we are going to need that were solicited actually this month in June. We have some handouts here that it's a more current one of any contracts that are going to be solicited towards the end of the year. We will do whatever we can to get these handouts out to everybody that's in attendance through video, so all of you guys can have them as well. But what the look ahead shows is the location, right? For example, the first one, this contract will be in Yountville. Type of service, IT access door system maintenance. So if you're in that field, that contract's coming up. They have estimate dollar amount. Estimate dollar amount. Make sure you keep that in mind. Sometimes those figures go up, good for you. Sometimes they go down. So don't hold us to it. It's an estimate. And then of course, the length of time. Most of our contracts, 70–80% of our contracts go 3 years. So you know you're locked in with CalVet for a 3-year period. And then of course, the estimated solicitation time. The month is there. It could be a month into August, a week into August, a week into October, but at least you have 4 or 5 month notice with these look ahead reports of services that are coming up. And again, as I said, I have a handout, but you can also find the most updated one on our website. Okay. And to close, a few common questions that we normally get. How can I do business with CalVet? Right. Well, research if we actually can use you. If what you can provide, we actually have a need for, we've bought in the past, we need that service, do a little bit of research on your own. Reach out to our advocate. You can see the email there, reach out to them, provide your capability statement, letting us know, hey, this is what I can provide, I'm available, let me know. And then respond. If we do solicit to you, even if you're not interested in that solicitation, a very short email back saying, not at this time, not interested, bad timing, whatever, works 2 purposes. 1, okay, we know you're not interested. 2, we know that that email is a good email. So we'll continue soliciting you. We'll continue including you. If we solicit you 9–10 times and we never get a response back, we're probably going to remove you because we think that that email might be bad. You might not be in business anymore, things like that. So, all right. Is there a way I can connect with buyers at all CalVet facilities? As I mentioned, the opportunity that we give firms is our monthly meeting. Reach out to us. We'll put you on the calendar and you will be face-to-face with all of our buyers and give you an opportunity to present on what your business does, what it can provide, things like that. Okay. And then again, what does CalVet do to increase DVB participation? We're always looking to increase our participation. Going back to our numbers, last year we were a little over 10%. This last year we doubled to 22%. My goal would be, okay, and following that trend, we should be in the 30s. I'm not going to hold my breath, but we'll see where we're at. But what are we doing to increase it? With the SB-DVB option, there's really not much that has been done in the past. So what we're going to pilot is on our SB solicitations, include DVB incentive language to make sure, or try, not make sure, try and get those SBs to also get some DVB participation, and it'll increase CalVet's overall number. So little things that we're also kind of thinking outside the box to get more DVB participation with every opportunity that's out there. So any other suggestions? I'm always open to ideas from anyone and everyone. So feel free to let me know, send me an email with your idea, and we'll see if we can implement something as a pilot with the Department of Veteran Affairs. So with that, I thank you guys for this opportunity and look forward to seeing you at the next one. And there's a question. Yes.
So I understand why you do DVBE first, but in your opinion, how often do you go to an SB DVB?
Well, based on the numbers that you've seen, quite often, because we do solicit DVBEs and, I'd say probably if I had to throw a number out, 4 out of 10, we are unsuccessful and go to SPs.
And the second part of the question is, competing partner on the federal side, who's DVBE. Do they have to put in for the solicitation, or can I apply for the solicitation, including them?
That would be considered a subcontractor. You'd be the prime. So the contract would be with you. If you're an SB, we would get SB participation as well. And if they're a DVBE and they're doing 10% of the project, we would get 10% participation on that particular transaction. So,
Thank
yeah. If they were the prime contractor for CalVet's sake, I would be like, that's 100% DVB participation. I'm in favor of that one. So,
Yeah.
but whatever is your best process, yes, that's what you should follow.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Another question would be, what are the requirements to procure from?
what are the requirements to procure from CalVet? First, I would say be certified with the state of California through Department of General Services. If you're certified as a DVB or SB and you're in e-procure and your profile is updated, chances are we're going to find you and we will be soliciting.
And for the non-IT or the IT services that you have listed on there, you had camera installation, nurse call, things like that. Do you need to have your DIR certification in order to be able to do projects? The Department of Industrial Relations contract.
Yes, to do any work with a state agency, public works related, you will need the DIR certification number.
And then last question is, does having a CMAS contract assist with getting procurement opportunities with CalVet if you have CMAS and DVBE?
Yes, because we actually go to those first. DGS, of course, does us a favor by having a short list of contracts out there, CMAS, statewide contracts. We do go to those very regularly and actually look for the DVBEs that are on those particular contracts. So it's a twofold for us. So, yes, sir.
So, my is DVBE. Roads. I believe that you have 4 professional services, you have 4, and you have a few contracts. You go to through all of those, exclusively with engineering.
Yes, yes, that is correct. We actually have those.
You might have to wait for the next IDIQ.
Yes, and we, at these events, whenever possible, we try and make sure we let everybody know that those opportunities are coming up. Another one?
Following up on this question, there's 10 contractors by the IQ. He's obviously interested to be a sub with IQ. What does he have to do?
When we provide opportunity that those contracts are being solicited, you can reach out to us and ask us who are the firms that are being interested that I can reach out to and offer my services as a subcontractor. So.
You're saying that, yeah, I'm contracted before the. Yes. Get work away.
And to that point, we have here over the last couple of years, mandated some goal language on our contracts, unlike before, which now, even though they don't want to, if they want the contract, you have to. So you don't meet the goal, you don't get the contract.
To understand that these 4 IQ firms are not 100% DVD, they're SB.
I want to say one is an SB and it was actually solicited to, it was an open solicitation. So
So the greater approach here is how can we have a communication with those 4 to emphasize what you just said. In other words, if they're blind to your emphasis, they're going to say, I don't want to play well. But if we revisit them, all 4 of them, exactly on the range of communication, the incentive behind it.
we are putting things in place behind the scenes within the department, working with that particular unit that executed those 4 contracts to kind of all be on the same page as far as what the expectation is of the department. Because the last thing we want is a a one-off, because then people will start, not believing what we say. So. Okay, yes, sir.
Quick question, your monthly meetings, is there like a certain specific way when you get a call to like be a part of that? Or?
Yeah, you can email the SBDDB advocate at CalVets. Let them know that you're interested in that monthly meeting with the buyers, and we'll see what month is available. We'll let you know. Hey, October's available. Are you available? You say yes, you're locked in. So,
Teams meeting? Or
yes, it's on Teams. So make it easy for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, gotta have Teams.
Gotta have teams.
All right. Well, with that, I thank you again for your opportunity, and we'll see you at the next one.
Awesome. Thanks, Raymond. Thank you. Appreciate your time. It was a good presentation, good information, valuable information. Next, I'd like to introduce you to a good friend of mine, Mr. Wayne Gross. He's from the California Department of General Services. He's the guy you want to know. This guy is the bread and butter, the meat and potatoes of the DGS. You know, if you know DGS, you know Wayne. So he's currently serving as the Business Outreach Liaison for the State of California Office of Small Business and Disabled Veteran Business Enterprises. In this role, he educates the business community and ensures that small business and disabled veteran business enterprises can access their share of state contracts. Wayne Gross has 48 years of customer service skills. That's a pretty long time. Wayne, I commend you for that. It's like double my service in the Marine Corps. Awesome. You know, and starting from his early days as a United States Air Force captain, I won't hold that against you. Wayne has received numerous awards for his advocacy and support of SBs and DVBs, seeking to understand and navigate the state's procurement system. Among those is a Secretary's Award from the State Agency Recognitions Awards. He holds a master's degree in business management from Golden State University. And today he'll be presenting contracting with the state. So make sure you guys pay attention, because this is one of my favorite classes. I've listened to him, and I can tell you from experience that he's actually changed my business in a lot of ways. I'm actually receiving a lot of solicitations now from the different departments in the state of California because of these classes. So I can promise you, if you pay attention, your business is going to change. And with that, Wayne, on to you.
Thank you, Angel. Okay. Okay. Yep. There we go. Again, thank you, Angel. My name is Wayne Gross, Business Outreach Liaison. I've been doing this for 14 years. I know a little bit about the system. There is my email, waynd.gross@dgs.ca.gov, and my phone number, 279-946-8387. My philosophy is the only dumb question is the one you don't ask. And it won't be during my work hours of 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. You'll be sitting on a Monday night watching Dancing with the Stars with your partner, and that question will come up. Email me, text me, whatever. I actually answer the phone. I get that comment all the time. You know, the phone rings, I pick up, and they go, oh my God, a live person. Okay, I walk the walk and I talk the talk. If I can't pick up the phone or answer an email, it's probably because I'm doing a presentation like this where I can't do it. But I guarantee by the end of the day, you will get some type of communication from me. So today, here's what we're going to be talking about: how the state buys, acquisition methods, leverage procurement agreements or LPAs, solicitation formats, commercially useful function or CUF, and resources. How the state buys.
okay? The problem that we have is with us being a public agency, we have certain rules, regulations, and laws that we have to abide by. And so with that process, which we call the procurement process, there's always the expression, it depends. Each situation is different. And so, the buyers have to have the expertise in knowing what has to be done in that certain situation. And so the buyer has to look at what authority and needs, and then the acquisition method, and finally the solicitation format. Now, all of this, can be Greek to you. And basically, if you look at a solicitation, you're not going to care about, how you got it or whatever. You're going to read the solicitation and follow what we're asking you to provide. It's pretty black and white. Okay. Like I said, I'm going to give you details of like the methods, et cetera, but at this point, it's just knowing what the solicitation is asking and you providing that information. If it's a detailed solicitation, we're probably going to give you a checklist, and that checklist is for your use so that you can go, number one, I've done this. Number two, I've done that, all the way through the 10 items, whatever. It's to cover your butt, basically. So the acquisition methods, there are, I've got 5 of them here. There is the formal, informal, competitive. There's the small business DVBE option. There's fair and reasonable. There's emergency contracting and leverage procurement agreements, LPAs. So the formal or informal competitive, and these are for competitive bids, and they're typically a written solicitation. They do allow phone calls to give a quote, and they are usually advertised. They don't have to be, but they usually are. And it's either low bid, low cost, or best value. Here again, it's the what if. Each situation is different. And so read the solicitation and comply with whatever they're asking you for. And the advertising threshold, non-IT goods in excess of 50,000, non-IT services 10,000 or more, IT goods in excess of 50,000, and IT services in excess of $4,999.99. The next is the small business DVBE option, and that's for IT and non-IT goods and services from 5,000 and a penny up to 250,000 minus a penny, and public works from 5,000 and a penny up to 388,000. And this is restricted. It is only for certified small businesses and DVBEs. If you are a DVBE and you qualify for the small business certification, this is probably the main reason why you'd want to get both, okay? Because if I'm looking for small businesses, you're in that field. If I'm looking for DVBEs, you're in that field. And if I use you, I get to count you twice. Once for my 25% small business goal, and the other 3% for my DVBE goal. You're a twofer, if you will. We need 2 quotes, okay? And we can't mix the certifications. I can't get 1 SB and 1 DVBE. But if you're also a small business, I get you as your small business certification. So I have my 2 small businesses. And this is lowest bid, okay? And it may be advertised, okay? Now, 7 years ago, our director said that this small business DVBE option is a bunch of bunk. Why? because they have people like me going out to the general public, trying to lure you in to get certified as a small business and or a DVBE. So it would be logical that my department, I represent DGS, right? That those buyers would come to you first. And so we created the first policy, just like CalVet has their first policy, okay? And it's the same as the small business DVBE option, except for it's not optional. My buyers at DGS are required to come to you first. And so if you look at the advocate list, you will notice there are agencies that are highlighted in yellow, and there are 18 of them right now. What that means is those are the agencies that hold the first policy. And so who would be the first 18 phone calls you'd make? All the highlighted ones. That would be the logical thing. Next is fair and reasonable. This is less than 10,000, and it's commonly used for minor stuff, okay? And the buyer only has to get one quote. And there are various methods to determine what's fair and reasonable. And they include price comparison, catalog or market pricing, controlled pricing, historical pricing, or a cost benefit analysis. Here again, the buyer is going to do that, right? And if they only need one quote, the lesson here is you make sure that your California profile has everything that the buyer needs. So they put in a word, your company name comes up, okay? I want to do a sidebar right now. I've given you my email address, right? Because tomorrow at 1 o'clock, I do a weekly training program. I call it now, I Can Change Your Life. Because what happens is people don't know that you have two profiles in Cali Procure. You have the public one, and then you have the notifications profile, which you have to be logged in using your username and password into Cali Procure to update that. And so we talk about your list of keywords and your UNSPSC, that's the United Nations Specialty Product Specialty Codes. And on your California profile, we want what we call the parent codes. Those end in 00. And on the notification side, where you get your notifications that are from solicitations, you want to have both the parent codes as well as the 8-digit specific codes. And if you email me at wayne.gross@dgs.ca.gov, and all you have to do is put needs training, I will send you an email for tomorrow's training at 1 o'clock. Do it today if you can. And I will send you the Teams link. It's a 1-hour training. I give you a copy of the PowerPoint as well as written instructions on how to update your two profiles. I also talk about the advocate list, what you're supposed to tell them, and your capability statement, that's your resume. I also talk about reciprocity partners. Those are agencies throughout the state that honor the small business and or DVB certifications. I talk about the California Multiple Award Schedule, which we'll talk about here, as well as the emergency registry, which we'll talk about here also. But my job is to afford you every opportunity. And as you heard Angel, I changed his life. I showed him the way, if you will. Next is our emergency contract. This is response to a couple things I think you've heard of. COVID was one of them, the fires, which is an annual one, unfortunately. But there are other emergency situations. A water pipe breaks in a hospital. Well, we're not going to go out and bid on it, okay? We need to get someone there now, okay? We're probably not going to talk about price either, okay? And so what happens is you do it, you turn in an invoice, and what the buyer, the emergency buyer who, contacted you and said, hey, here's our emergency, go fix it. Okay. They're going to expect fair marketable pricing. Let's say it should have cost you 10,000 and this guy's a buyer. He's been doing this for 20 years and you give us an invoice for 20,000. Okay. Well, we're going to pay it. Okay. But the next time another water pipe breaks, do you think we're going to call you? Let's be realistic here. Okay. So anyway, my department, matter of fact, a couple of my peers created this emergency registry. It's statewide. And so what happens is you get registered in our database. And then, and I believe I show you here a couple of the categories. We started out with 15, and within 6 months, we were up to 30 different categories. And you put which categories you apply for, and then you give us all the details of what you can do in each one of those categories. And we have this expression, it's called TIF. I'm dating myself now with my 48 years of experience. Keep it simple, stupid. This is our application. Look what all you have to do. It's for certified firms, obviously. So we want your certification number, your emergency categories, your description of your products and services, your business address, and your contact information, both primary and at night, so that we can contact you. When you hit submit, you will not, I repeat, you will not get congratulations. Someone on our team has 48 hours to open up your application, review it, and if everything's fine, then they send you an email, say, congratulations. Now, I'm a buyer for Caltrans, okay, and I have an emergency. I too have to be registered in this database so that I can see you who are also registered in the database. That's how this works. Are there any questions on the stuff I've talked about so far? If not, we'll continue. The LPAs, leverage procurement. And these are agreements between the state and businesses. It's for specified goods or services. It's used by state departments, as well as counties, cities, school districts. And so then it is awarded at $0, and it lasts for multiple years, usually 3 years, okay, depending on the contract. And there are several types of leverage procurements. There's the master agreements, there's statewide contracts, software licensing program, cooperative agreements, the California Multiple Award Schedule, or CMAS. And if you go to dgs.ca.gov and in the search engine, type in leverage procurement agreements. Don't put in LPA, okay? You'll get the same results, but in a different order. But if you put in leverage procurement, the first results, it will take you there and it'll list all these. And if you have specific questions, you can click on that link and it'll give you an email address where you can ask a specific question. Like I said, I'm going to give you a lot of information here. It's nice information, but if you with what I tell you about it, you go, hey, yeah, I need to know more about the statewide contracts. Go to dgs.ca.gov, okay? So first we have the master agreements. They're competitively bid when established. They are advertised. They may have multiple awards and establishes a pre-qualified list of vendors. And they may require offers depending on the agreement. And here again, there may be a time frame where you can only get on a list. Just like the gentleman in the back said that there are only 4 in CalVet for a specific contract, okay? And so it may be, within the next 6 months that CalVet opens up that list so that other companies can get onto that list to be considered. And if there are offers, they, just like anything else, they need to get 3 quotes. Okay, so. And examples include on-site confidential destruction services, PPE waste removal services, technology, digital and data consulting services, temporary medical staffing services, transit processor services, and unarmed security guard services. And you notice it has here the security guard, the unarmed. I'll bring it to your attention about CMAS here. Okay, statewide contracts are commonly purchased goods. They're competitively bid. And single awards, there are sometimes multiple awards. And the small business DVBE off-ramp may be offered. And the biggest complaint I've heard is with the off-ramp, you have to agree to the statewide contracts numbers, okay? And usually what happens is the numbers are so low that a small business or a DVBE can't offer the price because the statewide contract, whoever's on that one, is offering at, let's say, $1, and you know your lowest price is $1.25. Okay, so why even waste your time? Okay, that's how that works. And some examples are asphalt, food items, rice, flour, grains, sugar, herbicides and insecticides, rainwear, roadway signs, gentlemen, tablets, tires, and traffic cones. The next is the software licensing program, and these agreements are negotiated, not bid. And the agreements are with software publishers, and the publishers identify authorized resellers, and they must solicit offers from 3 businesses. And here, what I've done is that, because a lot of people are in the IT, and so the email address is slp@dgs.ca.gov, or their phone number 916-375-4365. I would go more with the email, just for the fact that you'll get more information, written information that you can, print off if you need it for reference. And available on the SLP agreements are software, maintenance and support, implementation, training, installation, and software as a service. Not available are standalone hardware, consulting, and telecommunications. Next, we have the cooperative agreements. There's a whole bunch down there. You're going to plug in there. Okay. Anyway, these are multi-state agreements for goods and services established from competitive bid and master. Okay. That's okay. There we go. They're advertised and they have resellers, may require offers, and used by states and local entities. These cooperative agreements, for example, let's say the agreement is from Nevada. Okay, so what happens is you have to use whatever Nevada rules say that has to be done. If it was from California, we have our rules and regulations. Nevada has theirs. So if you see, there's why is Nevada asking us that? The state doesn't ask.
Enter. It doesn't have a password, so it's enter.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now,
Hey, tell me, I told you to do that coupon.
okay, I'm frozen. Here, let's see. There we go. Okay, next we have the California Multiple Award Schedule, or CMAS. This is based on the federal GSA schedule. That application is 125 pages long and takes up to a year for the feds to approve. Our program is 5 pages, and once you hit submit, you can get approved within 2 days. Now, there obviously is a hitch here, and that hitch says our rules say that you have to have a GSA schedule. It doesn't say it has to be your own. And so our people at CMAS will help you find that perfect match. And if you go to CMAS at dgs.ca.gov and just send them an email and just say, do I qualify? Okay. You don't have to waste your time. You will, obviously put in your supplier ID number, your certification number, and tell them what you do. And then they will respond either yes or no. If they say no, you don't qualify, well, you go on with life, okay? But if they say yes, it is their job to make sure that you get a CMAS contract so that we can potentially put money in your wallet. And here are some of the schedules: IT, written translation, software maintenance and support, computer hardware technology, office supplies, strategic planning consultation, actuary consulting, automobile repair, business administration. One I like, CPR instructing. I got someone to do that. And then I didn't see him for 2 years, and he came up to me at an event and he goes, "Hey, Gross, I'm mad at you." He used other words, but he got my attention. And I said, "Why?" And he goes, "Well, you know that CMAS contract that I got?" And I go, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, I'm retired. I only wanted to work 1 or 2 days a week." Okay. And so he's found his niche. Okay. And see, I have to preface it with, he is a retired police officer from Sacramento Police Department. His last 5 years, he was their CPR instructor. And so all of the city police officers had to either get initial CPR training or renewal. It flowed over to the county. Well, we've got like 5 or 6 counties around Sacramento. So guess who knew him, right? Okay, and if you've been doing it for 5 years, you get a reputation. So when, the county of Sacramento needs to get their CPR instructors, okay, they need to get 3 quotes. His name comes up. What are the chances, if you get it one time, that you get it over and over and over again? And that's what happened to him. The point being is, it's not what you know, it's who you know, right? And so that's the name of the game. Here's what CMAS does not include, unfortunately: facility planning, medical services, registered nursing, human resources, security guard services, legal services, public works projects, and engineering and architectural services. Okay, but I want to say something about security guard services. I was doing a workshop in Covina a couple years ago, and this lady puts her hand up and says, "I've got a GSA schedule for security guard services." Well, it'd be logical if I want to get a CMAS contract and I'm using her GSA, I should be able to do it, right? And I said, "Let me get your name and number and I will get back to you." So I contacted the people at CMAS, and guess what? What she did was the exception, so she could do it. Okay? The moral of my story to you is to contact CMAS, cmas@dgs.ca.gov, and just ask them, do you qualify? Let them tell you yes or no. Even if you're listed on this list, let the source tell you yes or no, because things change all the time. And you know, you may get that one exception because it's brand new. And like I said, if you go here, the instructions will tell you how to create your account. And this is for new company registration, and has here apply for the new CMAS. These will be in the instructions of them telling you that you do qualify. Okay, and this will be all the information that you will need to have when you actually fill out that application. So, and if you're at caliprocure.ca.gov, this is our homepage. On the top left of the 4 squares, sell to the state. At the very bottom will be the leverage procurement links. And here are all of the procurement agreements. And if you look on the second line, it says acquisition type. That's where you could put in CMAS. And then you could put in a description of what you're looking for to see the other CMAS holders that you have. Let's say like it's like CPR. You could put in CPR under CMAS and see how many other competitors there are. Okay, and you could have 10 or 20 different CPR agreements. Okay, from 20 different people using that same GSA schedule. And the holder of the GSA schedule has absolutely no idea that you're piggybacking off of their GSA agreement. Why? Because when they submitted their GSA schedule and got approved, it goes into a public electronic library for all of the federal buyers to use you, okay, on the GSA schedule. And so we here at CMAS can use it because it's all public access. Any questions on this information? If not, we're going to talk about non-advertised solicitations. Okay, how do I learn about it and how do I find it? A couple things. The big secret is your keywords and classification codes on your public certification profile. Okay, again, tomorrow at 1 o'clock, I'm doing my training. Email me, wayne.d.gross@dgs.ca.gov, and just say, hey, I need trained. And I guarantee I can change your life. The other place, and the people here in this training room have got our monthly update of upcoming solicitations. And if you go to dgs.ca.gov and in our search engine put how to do business with the state, go to that link and go down to upcoming solicitations, and you open it up, you will get a list of 20 different state agencies with upcoming solicitations. I'm in charge of ours for DGS. And so what I do is I have to have it posted by the end of the first week. And CalVet is on that list also. And you saw his slide on upcoming or to look ahead report. That's what this is. Okay? Because the more information you know, the more dangerous you can be in looking for that solicitation that's coming up. The other way is to contact the advocate of each agency and give them your 30-second elevator speech and ask if there are anything coming up that you could actually bid on. Okay? You want the opportunity to find you, and you got to have that profile. Any questions on that? Okay, now here's the fun stuff. The solicitation formats. There are 4. There is the request for quotation, which is an RFQ. You've got invitation for bid, IFB, request for proposal, RFP, and finally, the request for information, RFI. Like I said before, this is good information to know about, but you really don't care if it's an IFB or an RFI, okay? You're gonna read the solicitation and follow all of the instructions, towards that solicitation. So when you put in your quote, you're gonna be the lowest one or the best value. So the request for quotation, it's generally used for straightforward procurements with low risk. It lists what is needed by item, quantity, and price. It's for IT goods, IT services, and non-IT goods. And the threshold is usually between 0 to 100,000. If it's over 100,000, then we have to use the IFB. The information for bid is used for simple, common, or routine goods and services. There's no negotiating or discussions. It's typically low bid, okay? And the small business preference and or the DVBE incentives may apply, okay? The small business preference is 5%. So you could bid 5% over the lowest non-certified bid and win it. And you win it at the original price, not the 5% discount. And the DVBE incentive is from 0 up to 5%, depending on the solicitation. And that gives you extra value as a certified DVBE. So if you're certified small business and DVBE, you could get up to 10%. The request for proposal is used to obtain complex services. And this is the most complex thing, okay? Because there's rigorous evaluation of bidder qualifications. It's based on weighted criteria. Obviously, the primary issue is cost, but the secondary is best value, okay? So I'm down to 2 people, and they both basically have the same price, right? But one can deliver next Friday and the next one a month from now. Well, I need to have it in 2 weeks. So obviously the one who can do it next Friday is going to get it. Best value, even though the other, the price was pretty comparable, okay? The request for offer, and these are used when purchasing against an LPA. And these are specific transactions with a specific response or offer. Any questions on this section? Here comes my favorite part. Contract readiness. Do you meet the requirements? I tell people, look at the solicitation, read it, and then go do something. A couple hours later, let it sink in, right? And then read it again. And, keep on reading it, and looking, and depending on how detailed it is, on the solicitation. If it's a 1-pager, no biggie. But if it's 125 pages, obviously there's going to be a little bit more intense creativity in providing your quote, okay? You have the financial capacity, okay? As a certified small business, you are entitled to get paid within 45 days of an undisputed invoice. Here is another reason why, if you're a DVBE, you want to get certified small business, because that guarantee of 45 days of an undisputed invoice is only for small businesses, not DVBEs, okay? And can you deliver on the contract? That's why they always ask, specific criteria of past performance. Okay, here again, past performance, required experience and skill sets, and production capability. I like to tell the story of he was an architect, And he, for 20 years, he was with this big architecture company, right? And he was always on all these projects, okay? Anyway, so he retires. 6 months later, his wife says, get out of the house. So he starts his own architecture business, okay? Well, he has 20 years of experience, which he can put, on paper, because he can get the references. You want references? I can give you 20,000 of them, okay? So just kind of remember that. Contract readiness. Don't miss out on an opportunity because you let your certification lapse. Once you get certified, you have that certification for 2 years. 90 days prior to your, for when it expires, you will get an email saying you can get certified now, okay? Keep your profile information updated, okay? Make sure that you have all the certifications and they're all current. If you have a certification and it expires at the end of September, and you get a contract that is going to, let's say next February, okay, and you get assigned it, it is your responsibility to make sure you don't let that thing expire, okay? And make sure if you are in the construction field, public works, that you are properly licensed and insured. Oh, I love this one. Common mistakes. Literally, what happened was last year, 2 years ago, my department asked the advocates, can you list the most common mistakes? And I believe out of like 100 responses, 99% of them said, forgot to sign all the documents. And people go, oh, that would never happen to me. If all of the advocates said that's the biggest mistake, I would, put that in your up here and say, hey, we make sure that we do, okay? Especially if there's, 15 or 20 documents, make sure that you sign it, okay? Make sure that you return all of the required documentation, okay? A lot of the time, especially with the big solicitations, we give you a checklist. And, as you're putting the thing together, oh, number 1, number 2, number 3. Oh, I don't have a signature on there. Sign it. Okay. That kind of thing. Leaving out required permits, licensing, or bonding. Okay. Not following the directions on the solicitation. Here's one, not filling out recycled content form. Okay. Now, it may be something that you don't do. Okay. Okay. But they're requiring you to fill out the form and basically saying, NA, you still have to fill out that form and put it in the package, okay? A guy called me up last week sometime, and he's saying he's being underbid, okay, by these companies who are buying from China, okay? And I said, in your solicitations, do they say that you have the recycled content form? And they go, yeah. And he go, but these Chinese, whatever they are, can't be recycled. They don't meet our standard, okay? So I would bring that to the buyer's attention saying, you can't accept this bid because they can't provide the recycling portion of it, okay? And I said, I guarantee that word will pass around. So just a word to the wise. Tips for success. Ask questions early on. A lot of the time on solicitations, there'll be a date and time that you can ask questions, okay? The only dumb question is the one you don't ask, right? And when you're asking these questions, don't do it by phone. Do it by their email. Why? I'll give you an example. I contact a buyer and I say, hey, buyer, here's something wrong, okay? You didn't ask for this form, and it changes the whole solicitation. And they write back, Wayne, you are absolutely correct, and I'm going to change it. He gets sidelined. He forgets all about it. It gets awarded, right? And I protested. Okay. We're in front of a judge. And the judge says, why are we here? And I explained to him what happened. And the buyer puts his head down and says, yep, Wayne's absolutely right. And so then the judge says to me, do you have proof? And I go, oh, this email that the buyers made a comment on? The judge says, it's enough proof to me. Tells whoever was awarded the contract, I'm sorry, but we have to take that award away from you. And to the buyer, you're going to repost the bid with that new information. Yes, sir. And he does. And everything is copacetic. Okay. The moral of the story, don't do it by phone. Get the written documentation to cover your butt. You are legally bound to deliver as you promised on the contract. So sometimes the worst thing is actually getting awarded the contract, right? Because you got to perform it, okay? Make sure that that if you bid on this and you get awarded, that you can pay your people, okay? A lot of the time it's lump sum. What that means is it's not going to get paid until the contract is completely done. With CalVet or Caltrans, their multi-million-dollar contracts are usually they get paid once a month because there's so much, we're talking a $20 million contract. We're not going to wait until everything's done, which took 3 years to do. There'll be portions. And so you just want to make sure that you can pay your people. Okay. Any questions on this? My lovely favorite, commercially useful function. I apologize. I have a new coworker here with me, and we are obligated to read this verbatim. Okay. You perform CUF if your business is executing a distinct element of the work, performing, managing, or supervising the work, performing work that is normal for the firm's business, services, and functions, negotiating price, determining quality and quantity, ordering, installing, and making payment, and not subcontracting a portion of the work greater than expected by industry practices. This is what CUF isn't, being used as a pass-through to claim the appearance of small business DVBE participation. Example of that would be Angel. You still have your DVB certification, right? Yeah, okay. I'm bidding on this, I'm the prime, and I need DVB participation. All I want to do is use your certification number for DVB participation, okay? And I'll slip you $5,000, once it's done. Think that doesn't happen? All the time. Now, let me tell you what the fine is if you get caught, okay? Misdemeanor, jail and or $1,000 fine. Civil penalties. First violation, 10 to 30,000. Second violation, 30 to 50,000 each. That doesn't count the costs and attorney's fees, okay? For the Military Veterans Code 999.9 subsection C, DGS can suspend you from doing business with the state from 3 to 10 years. Revoke your small business and or DVBE certification. First violation, 5 years. Second violation, 10 years. It's a big deal, okay? Be honest, okay? The second not performing CUF is not being used to perform the work as stipulated in the bid. I want to use Angel for whatever, okay? It's all legit, but I never call him to do it, okay? So of course, Angel, contacts the administrator and says, hey, it's all done. You've paid him. I never, the prime did what I was supposed to do. Okay. Okay. You know what can happen in that case? Oh, here comes another contract. Do you think I'm going to use the prime? Because he's a liar, right? Because he didn't use Angel. So I guarantee on the second one, it's a mandatory DVB participation. What are the chances he's going to lie again? I'm going to assume he is. Okay, so I'm not going to use him. Okay. And the last is no longer used to provide goods and services listed in the initial bid services. Okay. Case in point. Sorry to pick on you, Angel. Okay. Yeah, I know. But you got broad shoulders. So what happens is, okay, he's married to my sister, right? So he's my brother-in-law. Well, they get a divorce. It wasn't meant to, happen. Okay. So he stops work on my project. Okay. He's punishing his sister and he's punishing me through my sister, right? Don't get mad, get even, right? Anyway, I try and contact him. I knock on his door because I know where he lives. I email him. I send, letters, whatever, and no correspondence. And because it's DVBE, I have to get DGS involved on top of it all. And the administrator of the contract, let's say it's a Caltrans thing, right? So we've got Caltrans and DGS. And as the prime, I say, hey, look, I've got Angel as my DVBE. He's not doing anything. Okay. He stopped work on the project. I want to get it done. Okay. And he was my DVBE, supposed to be doing this work for me. So the agency, and it'll probably be DGS, will send him a certified letter saying you must respond by the end of June or you're off the contract. Okay. And let's say it's July 1st. They haven't heard anything. He's off. Okay. He'll get paid for his work up until June 30th. Okay. But it's now up to Caltrans and DGS to find a replacement. I can't at this point. Okay. They have to help me find a replacement to do his work. Okay. So you see what a big deal is on all this. So resources. Unfortunately, the state of California does not at this time help you with a point. Okay. The small business development centers, the SBDCs, the Apex accelerators, those used to be called the PTAC, that's right. That's for established businesses. And then you have SCORE, which is it's a mentorship program, okay, of professionals who've been doing it for 20 years, and they will mentor you, okay? We have a new team that's been created, and one of their future goals is to help you create a quote. But these people will do it. And remember, it's for free. You should never, ever have to pay for these services. So in review, we talked about how the state buys, the acquisition methods, the LPAs, solicitation formats, commercial useful function, and resources. If you want to stay up to date with DGS, we have LinkedIn, and that's linkedin.com/company/DGS-OSDS. If you want to book an appointment on Introduction to State Contracting, Cal eProcure registration and certification, updating your Cal eProcure profiles, or find contract opportunities, you have the QR code there. And my 3 questions, okay? How do I qualify for a CMAS contract? As I said before, contact them at cmas@dgs.ca.gov and just say, do I qualify? They'll either say yes or no. If they say no, go on with life. If they say yes, they want to get you a contract. And the one thing I forgot to mention on CMAS, why do I mention it? It's because CMAS is good for state agencies, as well as cities, counties, school districts, community colleges, the UC and the CFU universities. So if you can't find, if you have a CMAS contract and you can't go through one of those like cities, you know, shame on you. You should be able to find something. Okay. The second is, what's the biggest mistake when submitting a quote? Not signing everything. That's a big deal, people. And who can help you in writing up a quote? The SBA, the SBDCs, the Apex accelerators, and SCORE. Thank you for your time. Again, my name is Wayne Gross. My phone number is 279-946-8387. And my email is wayne.gross, not broad, at dgs.ca.gov. Just seeing if you were paying attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Wayne. Appreciate you as always giving out the valuable information. If you haven't heard Wayne, you go back to a lot of the episodes that we've had. He's pretty much been in all of them. And just to let everybody know, you can go back onto the site and get all of these YouTube videos and review them. So they're all available to you. So if you miss something, or you want to share it with somebody else because it is valuable information, you can go back, take notes, and forward it along to other veterans that can actually use a lot of this information. So with that, remember that the ARC is sponsoring anyone that's demonstrated skin in the game. And each time you attend in person and secure a poker chip from the ARC will cover your $500 cost to exhibit once you collect all 3 chips to the 12th Annual Veteran and Small Business Trade Show in Moreno Valley on September 25th. Our next session will be on July 3rd with Al Renteria, which will be presenting how to successfully file a trademark at uspto.gov. And with that, the ARC will sponsor $500 sponsorship for anyone showing up to the exhibit. So come in person and secure your sponsorship, because that would be one of your last times that you can do it. So I challenge anybody that hasn't come in person to come in person and really meet my good friend Al. A lot of valuable information that you get from these, and being in person, there's people here that you can network with. I'm networking all the time here, so that's why I'm here all the time. So, I appreciate you guys' time. I appreciate everybody coming to this. This is a good event. It's going to help your business. I can promise you that. Just make sure that you guys actually use the information that was given here, the notes that you use. Information is just information if you don't use it, so action a lot of the information that you've gotten here. And with that, I appreciate you guys' time and have a great day.